the footy is almost upon us again, and we're looking for the fresh meat on the 360 agenda. Thursday night footy looms. We'll head to Geelong and speak with both coaches as the Crows prepare to meet the Cats. On a day of key signings across the competition, the Magpies lock in the future of their ruck stocks. And Mark Mclure has a familiar portfolio. He's here to run the rule over the Blues again. I'm Gerard Whateley. He's Mark Robinson. Ooh. And it's Wednesday night. It's footy from all angles.
Hello, Gerard. Did you stumble then?
No, it's just dramatic effects with Mclure and King standing there.
I can't wait to hear Mark Mclure tonight. Everyone else has had their say, so I'm sure a former captain can certainly have his say.
There are tickets to be given away tonight to Friday night footy. Use Twitter, use the hashtag AFL360. David King is red hot on North Melbourne against Essendon. So all your challenge is to put forward your view about what will unfold on Friday night. And the best 10 while King is on set will receive double passes to the footy come Friday night. So get involved on Twitter, hashtag AFL360.
Ask me what I'm looking forward to.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to that game.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of good games of football. I mean, I could easily sit here and say, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Geelong and Adelaide will go tomorrow night. Really looking forward to the Dogs. But this game, I think it's become a bit of a quick tradition in footy, if I can use that word loosely. The two sort of inner north teams here in Melbourne, they played round one. I think it was it a draw last year or the year before, Gerard? You got the...
It was decided after the siren. It was Hamish McIntosh who had the last shot, so that would be a few years ago now.
I think these are two teams in the same paddock. And I think it's really important who wins tomorrow night. It's going to give them injections, as we spoke about last night. I think it's going to be a cracker.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm staying with you. I thought it was perfectly captured on the back page of today's Herald Sun, and we've alluded to this throughout the week with Dustin Fletcher standing beside Boomer Harvey.
It was a great shot.
It was. That goes to the very heart of what we love in football, and 740 games between them, and it's still a race to see who will finish with the most games. Because neither is faltering just yet.
There's a whole array of photos there taken by Colleen Peach, and I looked at them all, and we're all guessing, saying which one we're going to put on the back. There was just some ripper photos, but Boomer's a class act, and he has been for a long, long time, and he's up for all these kinds of, they're not gimmicks, but they're promotion of the game. Mm-hmm. Boomer is just a really, really good AFL person, I reckon.
OK, let's get into the agenda, and it very much focuses on what lies ahead tomorrow night at Simonds Stadium in Geelong, with Adelaide travelling to meet the Cats. And there were important questions to be answered at selection in both teams, and this is the way that it has come up. So the keys here are Hamish McIntosh is going to play his first game for Geelong, having played last in round 7 2012.
Huge.
Mitch Brown gets the first crack at being the second tall forward for the Cats, and Lincoln McCarthy, who's only played once, missed his whole season last year with a foot injury, and then over on the right, obviously, that the litany of injuries that Geelong has faced throughout the pre-season.
1, 2, 3. They've got 5 first 18 players.
And it's no better on the right-hand side for the Adelaide Crows either, with Douglas
1,
and
2,
Lynch
3,
and Otten and
4,
Henderson
5,
and Walker
6.
and Van Berlo.
Yeah, 6 starting 18 players.
Side. They add, obviously, Eddie Betts and James Podsiadly. And there was the question as to would they go McKernan or Jenkins? And they've gone McKernan first out of the gates.
Good on him. I thought he was done and dusted. We got into him last year when he elbowed. Took a couple of weeks, put up for trade, didn't get picked up. Came back, played a really good NAB season. And Josh Jenkins is an honest centre forward. That's how you describe him. He keeps hitting, he keeps presenting, he keeps leading up. Those 3 players, this is with the transformation of Adelaide. Betts, Podsiadly, McKernan, they'll start in the forward 50. And Tex didn't come up. So they're going to have quite a rejuvenated forward line this year, Adelaide. Well, and I've liked the look of Eddie Betts.
Well, they're on the road, but they are absolutely undaunted heading to Geelong.
I don't think the players look at what the betting is or whether who's favourite and who's not. We're certainly going over there to win and to play well, and we're fit and we're strong, and there seems to be really good resilience amongst the boys at the moment, and I'm quietly confident with the team that we've selected we can get the points. We sort of feel like we know how Geelong play, we know a lot about their players, we know a lot about this ground, so we'll certainly go over there well prepared. We certainly respect this team. Geelong's a very good side, particularly at Simmons Stadium, but we won't fear them.
So we're lucky enough to have both coaches with us down at Cats headquarters, and let's start with the Geelong boss, Chris Scott. Chris, welcome to AFL 360.
Thanks, Jared. Hello, Robbo.
It's very close now. Tell me, it ended in such unfulfilling circumstances last year. As a collective, and you'll have a share in this, what's the eagerness like to get it started again?
Oh, there's that nervous anticipation, there's no question. I mean, we're very respectful of what Adelaide can bring. We can understand why a lot of pundits are predicting them to finish high on the ladder this year. So it's going to be a fierce test early on. You know, we've been both beset by some injury problems, so we're not kidding ourselves that we're putting out our absolute best personnel, but I'm sure both teams are very confident that the guys that they put out can do a very good job, and our preparation's been sound. We've had a little bit of bad luck, but that just creates opportunity for some others.
So the names are stark, and they've gone down at intervals, which I guess reinforces the bad luck that you mentioned. Do you have to be careful it doesn't create a bit of a pall coming into the season?
Oh, maybe, yeah, but we're realists. We don't shy away from the issues, and the injury problems are what they are. But we focus, you're right, more on the positives and the opportunity that we've created. Unfortunately, in some ways, for our young players. So, Lincoln McCarthy plays his second game. Hamish McIntosh plays his first game for the Cats. I think he's played 9 games in 3 years, so he's pretty excited. But there's always that excitement for round one, especially when you're playing good opposition.
Where's this game won and lost, Chris?
Oh, I think in the midfield. I think there's still 2,000 tickets available to come to the game and watch Paddy Dangerfield take on Joel Selwood and Rory Sloane take on James Kelly. We really respect their midfield. We think that's probably their strengths. We know they've got a big, strong ruckman, and they've got a couple of really good forwards as well. But if we allow their midfield to dominate and give their forwards good supply, we're going to be up against it.
So what do you need in there? Do you need experience? Do you need youth? Caddy's been floating around there. There's talk that Bartel, who we were talking about in a second, will play forward because they're so good. Do you throw your best in there?
Well, we throw our best in there, given a number of considerations. It's not necessarily experience or youth. Hopefully it's a good blend, but we think that Josh Caddy's been the equal of any of our midfielders in the pre-season, so he'll certainly be one of those. Trav Varco's someone that we've been really excited about through the midfield, and Adelaide's coaching staff would know his strengths particularly well. Probably haven't seen him as an on-baller as much as they will tomorrow night. But yeah, we've been for a couple of years trying to move away from relying on the really experienced 10-year plus guys, and looking at some younger guys that can come in there and be a bit more dynamic and give the opposition something different to look at.
Tell us very quickly about the persona of Hamish McIntosh. I would imagine, because he hasn't played football for that long, he'd be running out saying, I'm just going to go crazy. Do you have to try and temper him in any way, or do you say, get out there, big fella, crash, bash and lead the way?
Oh, we want him to lead the way. Yeah, we want him to let himself go, and he's been dying for this opportunity to get out and prove himself to his new teammates for a long time now. So obviously he needs to temper it a little bit. I mean, it's his first game for a while, so he needs to work his way into it. But really, we're asking him to lead from the front and be our number one ruckman and really take on a good player in Jacobs and show his teammates what he can do.
How did you pick between McIntosh and Simpson? And you've obviously got Blitzavs in as well, so you've gone 2 out of 3. Do you think that's your formula throughout?
Oh, to be honest, Jared, I don't know. I don't know what the right formula is. That's one decision that we spend a lot of time on, and I suspect that we'll chop and change a little bit through the year. That's probably a little bit flippant. I mean, we'll be quite well planned, and we'll think through how best to use our ruckman given their different strengths. I mean, it was shattering when Nathan Vardy went down, but he was going to add to that mix as well. So, yeah, between Hamish and Dawson, it was a line ball decision. So they'll both play lots of AFL football this year, we're pretty sure of that.
And how defining a moment is this for Mitch Brown to get the faith of the team to get the first crack at that open forward position?
Yeah, it's not necessarily defining for him. I think it's a huge opportunity for him to prove himself at AFL level. But he earned this spot. We were quite clear, obviously, given some of our list management decisions, that there were going to be some spots opened up for younger players. Unfortunately, Vardy went down. Kirsten's injured as well. But I'm very confident that even if those guys were available, Mitch Brown's the one we'd be going with. So he doesn't have to prove anything necessarily in one game tomorrow night. He's got an opportunity, and I suspect that opportunity is going to last a fair while given the pre-season he's had and some of the form he's shown in games to this point.
It's a great milestone for Jimmy Bartell. Just before your thoughts, just have a listen here to Tom Hawkins and just how he's regarded with the affection from his teammates.
Jimmy's been always been a big game player. It's something that I learnt before I was at Geelong, and then I've seen firsthand when I arrived. One of the things that sticks in my mind about Jimmy, he's very old school in the way he goes about his footy. He's got a lot of old school sayings. He wants us to keep driving the bus into midfield, head down, arse up, all these sort of things that is just really old school about him, and that's what I love. I love how hard he trains, and I think that's just what makes him a super player.
It's part of an interview that'll be shown in the pre-match tomorrow night. Does that sound about right, Chris? Jimmy old school?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think Robbo might have said last night that he's the footballer's footballer, even though Robbo didn't really know what that meant. I probably can't explain it any better, but his teammates love him. He's a champion of the game. When we talk to our players today, when we talk about the things that we expect from Geelong players, you don't need to go any further than looking at Jimmy's highlights tape. He's been an inspiration to all, and we're just expecting he'll go out and do his stuff as he always does tomorrow night.
Hang on, Jared. What did he say? What's a good bus driver? Is that what he is?
Keep driving the bus.
Keep driving the bus. I mean, I don't know if you played against this fella or not, but I remember a long time ago, Scotty, that Gary Ayres was described as a good driver in heavy traffic, and when they said that about, keep driving the bus, Bartell is kind of that Gary Ayres kind of player.
Yeah, I think driving the bus is a bit more of a reference to getting everyone on board and leading the way. But he's a great player in congestion. He's probably the best overhead mark for his size that I've seen in the game, which is some rap. We've been pretty upfront with our supporters and I guess the opposition as well that we'll play Jim forward most of this year. That's the intention at this point. He'll certainly start there tomorrow night. He's a tough matchup for anyone given his strengths overhead and then combine that with his ground level work in congestion. Yeah, he's quite a complete player.
Last one. If you had to describe to a group of kids what a footballer was, what would you say?
Or even just to Robbo, Chris.
Yeah, well, this one's just for you, Robbo. Let's leave the kids out of it. I reckon the footballer's footballer is the one that his teammates love to play with. It's as simple as that.
James Podsiadly is a pivotal figure tomorrow night, not only because how central they'll be to the Crows attack, but obviously the decisions that were made at the end of last year. Does he have the potential to cause you some blushes by playing well?
Absolutely. We fully expect that to happen. Hope it doesn't happen tomorrow night. We'll certainly be putting our best resources into stopping Pods because we know how good a player he is. But we went in with our eyes open, fully expecting Pods to play some great footy in 2014 and short term potentially that hurting us a little bit. But hopefully we'll be offsetting that with the performances of Brown and McCarthy and Murdoch and Kirsten later in the year.
Last one, please.
Yep.
Sorry, Jude. Scotty, last one. Third last one.
You said that last time, Robbo.
Corey Enright, are you going to play him on the wing or are you going to play him in the back half? There's just been a little bit of talk. Can you clear it up or anything?
Oh, well, he's played midfield through some of the pre-season games, but I think he's probably, if he's not the best half-back flanker in the comp, he's pretty close. So I think that's where he'll play most of his footy.
All right, Chris, that will do. Thank you. Good luck. See you tomorrow night.
You sure?
We'll take that.
Thanks, guys. Good on you.
Chris Scott down at
crack at me,
Simmons Stadium.
Well, I just keep thinking of things I need to ask you.
So don't preface with last one. Just roll on. Roll on.
Keep rolling. Then you'll tell me to shut up.
Well, when the time comes. Brenton Sanderson will join us in just a moment. We'll just change gears there. Well, what are your thoughts about the Cats heading on tomorrow night?
Now, I'm a bit nervous for him tomorrow night. I think that You can't worry about who's not there. When you're a coach, you've got to worry about who's playing. But it's for us to look at and say, God, how can they cover Motlop and Christensen and Vardy was going to play down there? You think, how are they going to replace them? They're going to find out about their depth. I've seen Adelaide play twice in the NAB Cup. I think their midfield depth, which Scotty spoke about then. I said it to you last week, I look at Adelaide, they've got 2 key tools, 2 forwards and back, Iraq, and the rest of them are midfielders. They are so deep in the midfield, and they've got some superstars in the midfield as well. I think they're going to really scare Geelong tomorrow night. And
Podsy Adley will be a central figure.
No, he won't.
He won't?
No, I don't think he will.
How so?
Well, I actually think Pods has been a terrific story for the AFL, but I thought halfway through last year Pods' career was coming to an end, which happens to everyone. Wrapped that he got another opportunity at Adelaide, but I don't know if Pods is going to be the man that everyone hopes to be. For his sake, I hope he does, but I don't think I see Pods playing a real crucial role for Adelaide this year.
Okay. So, when he came to Melbourne Airport this afternoon...
I thought you were going to say he's here.
Corey Norris just had it is a quick word, but just a quick word.
James, welcome back to Melbourne, mate. Just quickly, looking forward to taking on your old side?
I'm looking forward to starting the season. Thanks.
What sort of reception do you think you'll get from the old teammates?
Not sure.
What about the Geelong crowd down there? They can be pretty restless.
They're a great crowd actually. Yeah, I enjoyed playing there.
Looking forward to making your debut for the club?
Yeah, actually that's probably a big honour. So yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, mate.
Okay, so James Podsy Adley, the Geelong fans, they're always polite. There's no risk of him getting booed or anything. He's such a favourite son in what's been done. We'll head back to Geelong. Brenton Sanderson, the Adelaide Crows coach, is with us. Brenton, thank you again for joining us on AFL 360.
My pleasure. How are you guys?
You're part of the family now. We've called on you so often. Look, it's the most formidable challenge, or one of the most formidable challenges in football in recent times, yet there's an unmissable air of bullishness about you as you're heading there. Is that fair?
Oh, it probably is. I mean, this is without a doubt the toughest road trip in AFL footy, and to do it in round one is a bit of an unknown for us, but we actually do play pretty well against the Cats. In the last 2 years, we've beaten them twice and lost once here. So I don't think you can come over to here being negative. I think you've got to come here thinking you can win the game, and we certainly do.
Okay, we were just debating James Podsy Adley and the potential impact that he can have. What's your view? What does he need to do for you to make it worthwhile?
Oh, well, I guess the sort of Cinderella story would be that he would come here and kick a bag of goals and have a really big influence on the game, but that would be putting too much pressure on him. And we know that Geelong's defence, with guys like Harry Taylor and Tom Lonergan and Enright and Mackie, I mean, this is probably one of the best defensive outfits in the competition, and they've played for 7 or 8 years together, and it's hard to score heavily against Geelong. And I guess from Podsy's point of view, we just need him to compete. I mean, every time the ball's in his area, we need him to bring the ball to ground if he can't mark it, and one of Geelong's greatest weapons is their ability to run the ball out of defence. So, like every other player in our team, he's got to pressure the opposition as best he can. But I'd also like a bag of goals. It'd be a great story if he could come back to the club he won a premiership at and play really well.
Sando, was Jenkins available for selection? Yeah,
Josh is one of our emergencies, and there's still a chance he could play. We obviously named 3 emergencies, and sometimes we make late changes, but there's been a real, dogfight between Jenkins and McKernan throughout the pre-season competition, and both guys are in really good form, but we've made a decision at this point not to play the 3 talls if you include Jacobs, McKernan and also Jenkins. But Jenkins is a player we really love. He's going to be a really important player for us all season, but at this stage we're pretty happy playing McKernan and Podsy Adley forward and Jacobs in the ruck.
We just spoke to your Cats counterpart. He reckons the game will probably be won and lost in the midfield. Do you see it as that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think both clubs have outstanding young midfields, and I mean, Geelong's got more experience than us, with guys like Johnson and Selwood and Kelly, and Bartel can go through there as well. But we've got a really good young midfield that that are quickly becoming one of the best midfields in the competition, and we're very hopeful that we can win our fair share of the ball in there tomorrow and get the ball in our half as quickly as we can.
I reckon they're changing the midfields. I wouldn't be surprised. Caddy's going to go through there. Scotty just told us that. Duncan's been playing a lot more through there. I reckon he's going to be a full-time midfielder. You guys have lost Van Berlo. You haven't got Douglas, so you're going to be pushing some new fellas through there as well. Who will they be?
We have got some pretty good depth through our midfield too, and they're not really household names yet, but these guys are going to be really important players for us long term. So that's guys like Matthew Wright, Mitch Griggs, Sam Kerridge, Brodie Martin, David McKay, Brodie Smith. So we sort of do bat pretty deep through our midfield, but these guys can play a variety of other roles for us. But hopefully we get Van Berlo back mid-season. Richard Douglas is not out there tomorrow night, but he should be back soon. So we can still add, a bit more experience to that group when we get some of those guys back from injury.
Hey, rightly or wrongly, Sando, there's some hype on Matty Wright, and I don't think many people would know him. If you don't follow the Crows closely, you probably wouldn't know Matty Wright's game very well. How highly do you rate him?
Oh, very highly. I mean, he had a fantastic 2012 campaign, and he probably didn't have the best 2013. We used him more as a small forward last year, but he's one of the guys, along with probably Jason Porplesia, who are really up and running at the moment, and they've had really long, sustained pre-seasons, and both of those boys in particular are just a little bit lighter than last year, a little bit leaner, and those guys are going to give us a bit more punch out of the midfield as well as playing forward for us.
So I'm curious, how do you line up your physical preparation for the season? Is the Crows have played really well in the NAB Challenge, but you've got a nasty injury list, not at all unlike Geelong. How do you feel you're hitting the season?
Yeah, it's a tough one because we're taking some really good NAB Cup form into the start of the season. I think, us, Hawthorn and West Coast didn't lose a game through that period, but that counts for nothing now. There's 4 points up for grabs tomorrow night. As I mentioned, Geelong is a really tough road trip, no matter what time of the season it is, but we've had to replace some of those, 6 or 7 players who would probably be in our best 22 on paper. But we're replacing them with players who are in form and they're fit, and we'll certainly put a hard-running 22 players out on the field tomorrow night.
And the club as a whole, Brenton, obviously we've spoke to you last week, a club that was grieving. How have you come together? Do you sense that everybody is now ready to take to the football field?
Yeah, most definitely. We had a really nice memorial service on Saturday for Dean, there was about 1,000 people out, including our players and staff, and it was just a really nice farewell to Dean, and I guess for me personally that felt like it was a really good goodbye, if that makes sense. It was a good chance to say goodbye to Dean and then shift our energy and our focus from probably Sunday or Monday on into preparing for this game. So I guess we won't really know until we take the field tomorrow night the emotional levels of our players, but from what you can see externally, the boys look pretty sharp, and they've been great for each other, I must admit. It's sort of strength in numbers, and football clubs are fantastic during tragedy to almost bond the group, and from what I've seen, the players are certainly ready to go, and Bales will never be forgotten for us, but for sure we've got to focus on getting the 4 points tomorrow night.
Oh, we really look forward to it, Brenton, and again, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Brenton Sanderson, the Adelaide Crows coach. So it gives you a good feel for tomorrow night.
Oh, it does. Well, they were a fantastic interview.
6:30 live on Fox Footy is when the coverage starts. So the full build-up, half-time, full-time and the full call on Fox Footy. It was a day where contracts were signed all over the country and some key players locking in their future. Collingwood is going to unveil their hailed signing, and it will be tonight on the club, and it is Brodie Grundy.
I've decided to recommit to the Collingwood Football Club for another 3 years till the end of 2017. So obviously really excited about that, and putting pen to paper is that was a very big decision. It's something I didn't take lightly. It was it involved all my family and my management, and it was something that I wanted to get done early. I knew I wanted to stay at Collingwood and play my football here, and I didn't want that dragging out throughout the year.
And having made such an impression and with so much riding on him, that's just a good moment. Come together, move on, and get stuck into the development that the Pies need from Grundy.
Yeah, no, be a hell of a football world that we live in if he announced he's leaving. What? You just got him. It's not a big surprise that Brodie Grundy's re-signed. So good on him. I hope he got a pay rise.
In all of that, it seems Ben Reid is as good as
done.
Agreed, done.
Yep.
And then elsewhere, Zaharakis at Essendon, Rockcliffe at Brisbane, Hale at Hawthorn.
Hale's a beauty. We've spoken about Hale for years and years. One of the great pickups in recent history in footy. Rockcliffe, he's a superstar. Now, people are going to say to me he's not a superstar. He's a superstar player, but he hasn't got a superstar persona. He's an unbelievable player.
So in what you tweeted, it seemed like he's probably the second highest paid player at the Lions.
Yeah, well, he finished pretty up and high in the Brownlow last year. Vossi played him forward line for a while. He went back in the midfield late. He's a huge accumulator. He's well liked. Leuenberger's probably the highest paid player. Rockcliffe and Pierce Hanley would be pretty close, but good reward for a very, very talented footballer.
And a lot of Essendon rests with Zaharakis being right at the top of his game, because we've seen more than glimpses. We've seen sustained periods, and now if he can put that together over the next 3 years in the terms of his contract, he's got the scope to be alongside Watson.
Oh no, he's a ripper player. He's got to get better though. He's got to become elite. He's a best and fairest winner. But I know if he plays like a best and fairest winner every week, I think he's got to keep pushing himself. The only thing I can say about that, all this propaganda last year about all these Essendon players wanting to leave the club, geez, the amount of re-signings this year, Jared, shows that there's a lot of faith from those players in their football club.
Okay, the last item on the agenda, and we just wanted to check in on the Phil Davis situation, knowing that he's been in hospital since Saturday night after the Giants had their win over the Swans. We know that he'll be in intensive care for at least the next 24 hours. Dave Matthews is the Chief Executive of the Giants. Dave, welcome.
Thanks, Jared.
This sounds increasingly serious. What's the scenario?
Oh, it certainly has been serious, and hopefully the scenario is improving. It's been a very difficult few days for the club, but definitely for Phil and his family and Coco as well. It's something you don't like to see. He had probably the best game he's played since he's been at the Giants. He was brilliant, and then within hours of the game he's in intensive care, and he's been in good care, and he's progressing pretty well, and we're all optimistic that there's a good outcome here, but our overwhelming priority has been his health.
You've got to build a football club, and you've got to build it with players, David, but you've got to build it with character. Davis was kicked out of South Australia because he announced that he was going to GWS. The Crows said, see you later. He arrives at the club. He's been given captaincy. People are critical of him. He's been injured. He's been dying to get in the path. He goes out there, hurts his kidney, maybe ruptures his kidney, stays on the park, keeps Franklin to a very, very sort of meaningless contribution and ends up in hospital. These are little things that build the character of the football club, but they certainly build the character of your co-captain.
Well, there's no doubt he's a great character. He's been a tremendous leader in the first couple of years. He and Callum Ward have done a great job and been very resilient. It's been difficult in the first couple of years of the club, and he's the sort of person who's built the culture. And I know the playing group and the coaching group feel so strongly about him as a person and his contribution on the weekend. He and Ward were probably the best two players. We know, really destroyed Franklin and just had such a great game. And for it to happen so early in the game and for him to play it out the way he did is quite remarkable. But, our concern's been his health, not so much his football. It's just been, how is he going to get through this? And pleasingly, there's been some good progress in the last 24 hours, and now we just continue to monitor it.
Is it possible, David, and when people say, geez, how bad is it? And we tend to judge it in weeks missed. And if you said he was out for 10 weeks, people go, oh, geez, that's bad, or he'll be back in 2 weeks, he's just got bruising or whatever. Is there any date or any amount of weeks that you can possibly reveal?
Well, we haven't even really considered it because he's just a great young man, and so all we really want is for him to be healthy and to be able to look forward to to the years ahead. I mean, it's really been irrelevant, the football side of it, the last couple of days. He's he's come off the ground, he's celebrated with his teammates. It's been a remarkable day for the club, probably the club's best day ever. And then within hours, he's found himself in intensive care. So we've just been really worried about his welfare, and we're getting good reports now, and we really care for him as a person, and that's the main thing, not so much the football.
There are unmissable echoes of Tom Lonergan in this, Dave. Was there a risk at some stage that he would lose a kidney, and has that passed?
Well, we haven't been, really privy to everything that's happened, but I know that it was very, very serious there at some stage, and probably still is in to some degree. As you mentioned, he's in intensive care, and hopefully he gets out of there in the next 24 hours. We think he's on the improve. Certainly that's everything that we're hearing, which is really pleasing. But it's a difficult circumstance for the family and for Phil himself, and certainly it's been a difficult few days for the club.
Dave, we appreciate the update.
Thanks, Jared.
Dave Matthews, the CEO of the Giants.
Doesn't sound good, does it?
Phil Davis. No, and the fact that we're not even entertaining football, I think that gives you an idea that...
Might miss the year.
Yeah, but that's still secondary because he's still in intensive care, so it's recovery dates are still a bit premature. All right, let's bring in the boys, shall we? David King and Mark Mclure to go through some of the flashpoints that we've seen and what's to come.
Escapes for Sydney, but then his kick semi-smothered. It's collected. It's snapped by Frost. He's kicked a goal. If it wasn't over before, it is now. Reed's kick was smothered into the hands of Frost. Around the body. Have a look at this.
Reed runs clear. Touched. Ricochet. Frost.
Tries to clear from half-back, it dispels the Frost. Put down your glasses, that's it! They've got win number 4!
It was a moment. Mark Mclure, welcome.
How you going, Joe?
David King, hello.
G'day, boys.
How are you?
My friends from 4 Tracks for Kids just want to collect their money.
Now?
There's a little invoice for $250 for you. Little invoice, Mark, for you, $250.
$250.
And my friend, Mr. Mclure.
Mr. Mclure.
For you.
I'm good.
Thank you, champ.
There you go, champ.
Cash.
Cash.
You got your cash?
Hello, here we go. This is big.
Have we all?
I've contributed.
I think I got someone else's trousers on. I'm not certain. How many is that? Can I shortchange?
Better check my wallet, actually.
200. I didn't want to do this. I've donated TAB a hell of a lot.
I gave up.
Yeah.
Hey. I get
You're going to snip now.
I gave up 4K short and caught a cab. You couldn't help me with the rest.
No, we said we were going to do it, so we've got to do it.
That's great.
We've got to do it. Well done.
Okay, let's get stuck in, shall we? 4 key concerns for the Blues. You've got the portfolio here, Mark. You can take the first consideration, given all that's going on. Is it panic stations?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I think one of the things that Carlton's been over some years is inconsistent in quarters, in games, in years. And sometimes it comes with the players. There's a responsibility for you to respond on game day and play how you're supposed to play. Your responsibility to you to train properly and get yourself into the right nick to do so. And then there's also a responsibility for your lifestyle. And if they can't run a game out against a bunch of young kids like they should have the other day, there's some drama.
Lifestyle? What are you saying?
Oh, I don't know if there's any, but that's what your job is, to look after yourself as well as all the other stuff. It's not a lifestyle problem. But there are some things that Mick should have done, I thought, the other day.
So this is the second consideration, the coach.
The coach side of things. There's a couple of things that I watched during the game. One of them was Tommy Bell was taken off for Menzel at the end of the game, halfway at the start of the last quarter. Should have been halfway through the third quarter, but it shouldn't have been a runner come off. It should have been a ruckman. You know, they had Warnock was there. He was out on his feet. He had 4 possessions for the night. Hardly took 1 mark. I mean, please, he's the one who had to go. They needed to run against that side. Now that was a poor decision, I would have thought. There was a position in the first quarter where they absolutely dominated, no doubt. The second quarter, things changed in the game. Hinkley put all these blokes back in the goal square. And the Hoff was down there. Westhoff was down there. He played back in the first quarter. He went forward in the second quarter. Watson picked him up. Now there's Jamison, Simpson, Walker, who are all leadership group guys.
So this is the back line?
This is the back line. And they're in there and they're all in the leadership group. Jamison, who is probably the senior one of those guys, would say, hey, listen, he's a better player than I think you. I'll take him. Did he? Or was it a message from the coach? No, he didn't do so. So all of a sudden, 4 goals are kicked in the shortest pace of time, all by Westhoff.
On Watson?
Yeah, on Watson. Every one of them.
You got an issue with Watson?
No, I don't have an issue with him. He's just not up to playing on Westhoff. You don't put a young player on a Rolls Royce. I mean, he's their best forward and their best go-back player when they need to. So those little things were unusual for me. Then the last one that I want to talk about is that they had 2 ruckmen. I only showed 2 here, or 3 here. There was more of this stuff. That's a handball. You can't beat that one. That was a simple one. But still, there was 4 goals.
No, the points were taken.
The ruck?
Yeah, the ruck. Lobie. He was up against Warnock and Cruiser all day. He went just as hard at the start as he did at the finish. He was absolutely fantastic. And 2 players couldn't wear him out. He wore them out. I mean, that's what I'm talking about with lifestyle, training, fitness, how much you can get it and drive each other to be better.
Well, stop talking about Lobie was good. What are they going to do with Cruiser and what are they going to do with Warnock?
Why don't you ask Mick that? Because what's one of his questions? I don't have the answer to that because I think they can play both. But they should have left. See what happened last year? If you watched the grand finals last year, Bailey played most of 3 quarters in a game, and you know what they do? Or 2.5 quarters, and then they'd have Hale run the half the rest of the time, and runners on the ground to give him more run. Do you think you'd take a lead from the premiers and what you should do? You can play 2 ruckmen, but you need to let one work themselves over, and then give the other one a run. And that's the problem with him.
When he gets on a roll, he's hard to stop. You had a tactical point.
Thank God they haven't got any problems, is all I can say. Look, there's one thing for me. Don't get beaten by what you know. I went and watched the previous couple of weeks at Etihad there, and we watched Essendon versus Port Adelaide and watched how Port Adelaide set up in their forward 50. You talked about them pulling players back to the goal square. Just want to show you what that looks like. If you look at the top of the screen there's 6 white jumpers of the Port Adelaide jumpers, and the 2 Carlton jumpers are way out in front, at the back of the square and just 5 metres off that pack of players. This is 2 centre bounces later, okay? They weren't ready for this. They weren't planning for this. Simpson comes right up the back of the square and Matty White ducks off to the left. Now, he's got no coverage. If your mantra is to coach defence, you don't have loose defender versus loose forward. You just don't have that. You have a wingman roll back behind the ball and you give him a spare player in an oblique position, or you give him a back flanker free. You don't give him a forward flank. Don't they have... This is the Essendon game, okay?
Yeah,
so I'm just saying, they've seen this.
I was going to say, don't they have forward scouts to come back and say, hey, this is what they do? Then why did it catch them out then?
I think that's a bigger error than some of the other things you mentioned. They've had 2 weeks to plan for this.
That's a coaching error, mate.
Well, that's a bigger problem for me. Either the players didn't understand what the instruction was, or they didn't perform it, or they didn't coach it. So that's a big concern for me.
There's one other thing that they have. They have an introverted bunch of players at this Carlton
You always
football
say
club.
that.
And I know it. And this sometimes shows it. Sometimes you've got to stand up and say, Robbo, you're doing this.
You're in trouble.
If you make a big mistake...
It's not panic stations,
big
mate.
deal. No, they'll still make it.
Yeah.
It's a bit alarming. It's not panic stations. It's a bit alarming.
8 players in 5 minutes.
I hope they're not zip 4. If they've zip 4, what's going to happen here?
You'll sack him.
I'm going to take you.
What do you want to table with Richmond? Just
Tigers?
To bring to attention.
Look, I think every time the Tigers travel up north to Queensland, it's like they check their courage in at the airport and don't pick it up when they get there. It's like they play a safe brand of footy. They go up there and we can't lose. Let's just play really safe. Don't take any risks because these kids are pretty quick or they're pretty good. Or
if we turn it over,
kick it near gas. Don't do this. Don't do that. And they end up doing nothing.
That is rubbish.
Well, there's a lot of this in the modern game. I understand that. And we can pick a few bits of play out, but you just got to play with some courage, some real balls, if you like.
Do you think the mindset was missing in the first quarter? Because the contested ball count in the first quarter, Kingy,
Did you pick him in your 8?
was alarming again.
Picked them in my 4, to be exact.
In the top 4?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's a long way to go.
Them,
They get beaten by them every year. They nearly finished 4th last year, so there's a long way to go. But it's just such a disappointing start to the year. And you can lose round 1. You can't overanalyse it, but you want to get your game going. You want to play your game.
Okay, let's look to North Melbourne and Essendon, which is so exciting in prospect. You're giving away tickets here, 10 double passes.
Oh,
yeah? If your tweet comes up here, you're off to the footy on Friday night.
Are these my tweets? Because these will be real interesting if they are, I can tell you.
Put the abuse
Why
up.
are you so bullish on North Melbourne?
Oh, look, I just think when you look at their list profile, they're, I think, the third oldest and the fourth most experienced. They've got a great draw. They've had a fantastic pre-season in terms of getting through without injury, in terms of getting real load, genuine load into their players. Most of their players haven't been impacted at any stage through the pre-season. So they do every session and every minute of every session. And that's something that people say, oh, everyone's had a good pre-season. No, not everyone's had a good pre-season. These guys, the majority of them have. You know, Brent Harvey set the tone. We spoke to him last week on the ABC, and he has gone to Utah. He's come back. He's done the full 3 weeks of training afterwards. He's there to make a statement. He hasn't done that before. This is a bloke who's 35 years of age.
Yeah, no,
so I just think the message is really good out of there.
All those things you can judge, but how can we judge them mentally? Have they matured? Where's their leadership? We're only going to see that in games, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's they know that too. And they've been disappointing through the pre-season campaign under a heavy training phase. We know all that stuff. You can say they're excuses, but right now I just think they get Essendon at a good time. No Bell Chambers, no Winderlick, and I think they're massive outs for Essendon. And that's where, in those two areas, I think the Kangaroos will cash in.
I tend to agree. They want to be a good side, but they need to show something first up. I mean, we talked about two sides who didn't show something first up, and there's another one, Collingwood, who didn't show much either. But they need to show something, or else, guess what? It's going to be the same old bandwagon.
They'll beat them. They'll win. They're certainties.
Certainties?
Certainties.
I'm going to have
a little something on the way home.
Cash on. West Coast, our first look at them under Adam Simpson, and these are always instructive occasions.
Well, they got Nick Nat back, which is fantastic for them, and they usually win when he plays. But the new coach has given them a lease of life. They usually get a jump. Most clubs do when they get a new coach. They like him. He's a modern coach, very much a modern coach. Come from a good culture. He's a great bloke. Everyone I know talks about him. We worked with him, Jared. He's a terrific fella. Understands the game well. Look, I think they'll beat Western Bulldogs. But they'll put up a good fight, the doggies, and Bobby's 250th, and they got lots of run, and it's a big running ground. So, look, it'll be it's a lot of interest in that game.
The midfield, we're talking to Scott and Sanderson about the midfield. I think it's going to be decided tomorrow night. Sunday, you're looking at a West Coast midfield you've been a little bit critical of against the doggies midfield, which I know you're really bullish about.
They're young, they're exciting, they just want to play footy. And I think Liberatore is a superstar in the making. Everyone's talking about him.
He is.
But he's got this young batch around him.
Yeah, there's a few.
To see if Griffin plays. If Griffin plays, I think that'll be the difference. But they can win this game, the Dogs.
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe.
I'm not 100% sold on the West Coast being... You know, I know you've got them very high up the ladder. We just need to see them. You know, it's early on in Adam's coaching plan, and it doesn't always work from minute one. Sometimes it can take 8 weeks to bed in.
Okay.
You've missed a game here. What about St Kilda and Melbourne? There's a lot of interest in this game.
The macabre.
Well, I'm going.
Well, we'll talk about it then next week.
Only in a box, but not out in the air.
Your time is done.
No, there'll be plenty of room there, I reckon.
Enjoy your weekend of footy, mate. Mclure and David King with us. All those tweeters who rolled up, you're off to the footy on Friday night. Tomorrow night at this time, it's Geelong and the Adelaide Crows. From down the highway, it's all here live on Fox Footy.
Management said if you are going to pick a show, perhaps the most awarded show is the one to go on.
This is like the lounge room. That was a bit more like the principal's office.
Hey, what more can you say?
Do you want to feel tough guy?
The jumper?
Anyone do that to you?
Yeah, that's when I was crying most of the time.
Patience is not in abundant in the football world.
I don't know if you heard the first segment there. We just wiped off 4 clubs.
It's panic stations, let's be honest. Robbo's raising his hands. So it was a premeditated live rascal.
When people get suspended, the same people go, oh, they can't be suspending people for that.
Well done, Jared.
I'm fine now.
It sets in doubts, sets in confidences. Is that it?
If you like.
You're going to cut me off there.
I was just going to move to that. I think you've answered that well.
Put your hand up or something to say I'm going to cut you off.
I don't think anyone's as fearful of the phrase
archive footage.
The kids were probably 18, 19.
Yep.
They'll be running out. They won't be old mans with him. They'll be running out with him.
They might be able to cheer him off.
Kids these days are starting weights a lot earlier. You see when
Clearly.
You see when Rob came into the competition.
Weights? Did I do weights?
He probably couldn't lift his spoon to eat his dinner.
Is this at the end of the show?
That's it. That's all.
Do you want more?
Well, I didn't know. I don't know anything, mate.
I think that's more than enough. Short week's a good week with footy tomorrow night, so we do the weekend forecast now.
Yep.
Robbo, your sure thing.
I'm not tipping against GWS in round 2.
No. It did sort of echo, didn't it?
That was my sure thing,
Was the
Sydney.
Swans.
That's just thrown everything up in the air. It was terrific.
Imagine all the tontine competitions that have been decimated.
Yeah, about 100 of them come up and spoke to me at a pub on Saturday. I'm out of this tontine. I didn't know what a tontine was. What's your sure thing?
Smiling Melbourne fans.
Oh, you
I'm not
think they
saying they'll win, but if you think back on the last 2 years, how it started last year against Port Adelaide and how it started the year before against the Brisbane Lions at the MCG, and it ruined the season right out of the gates. Is Melbourne fans, it's safe to go to the footy on Saturday night. They'll see something to build on. Whether it ends in victory or defeat, it won't be soul-destroying.
It will be if it's 70 points.
That won't happen. That's my sure thing. That won't happen.
Yeah,
Most at stake.
Well, good luck. Most at stake. Oh, West Coast for me.
Yep.
There's a lot of most at stakes for round 1, but I thought, home final, exactly what Mclure and King were talking about with Adam Simpson. They want to put on a pretty good show, and they're taking on a team who's on the improve. If they go over there round 1 and knock them over, that'll just set West Coast a little bit back on their haunches, because they had the nightmare period last year where they couldn't win at home.
Yep.
And I don't think they would want to cough one up first round.
Yep.
What's yours?
I've gone Jack Watts in a positive way. This is the first game of the rest of his career.
But you kicked him to death last 2 years on this show.
This is a
About
positive.
time.
It should happen here from Jack.
If it's a positive, why is he most at stake?
Because he can win so much by playing well as the starting point.
What if he doesn't?
Well, that's not the end of the world, but I think he will.
Well, you've got him in Doomsday as well.
No, Doomsday scenario.
Is that next? Yep. Doomsday. Oh, my Doomsday.
Yes, yours.
Is
You'll get the thread of the show soon.
It's been going for a couple of years now. Well, I thought we had something in between. The Wednesday's thrown me. It's not even Wednesday. Yeah. It is Wednesday. It is. The Thursday's thrown me. The Thursday. No, Doomsday. Thursday. More injuries for Geelong.
Yeah, that's an
I thinking to myself, they're not scraping together a team, but they're certainly calling on player 23, 24, 25 and 26 at the moment. If they get more injuries, and they're starting to call on 27, 28, 29, I think they're going to be really, really tested.
Yeah.
And this is not just for tomorrow night. I think this is for the opening 3 weeks of the season. What about you?
Mine is the Lions suffering a NAB challenge style loss again to Hawthorn. I know you were entertaining the Lions last night. I think Hawthorn are so sharp that there's a risk that this could be a big number.
Yeah, I'm a bit more positive about Brisbane than a lot of people are.
Yeah, this is actually more about Hawthorn to me.
Yeah.
And what they've done. They are so finely tuned so early in the season. They've already put up a couple of triple figure results on the way.
Yeah, but they can beat them, Jared. They can beat them. GWS beat Sydney.
Yeah.
Things can happen. I know they're good. What if they went in there and attacked them like they've never attacked the team before? Things can happen. They can't go down there thinking, oh, we're playing Hawthorn, they just kick it from boom, 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 boom. They've got to have a plan. Lepich has got to have a plan. He's got to hit him with everything he's got, mate.
All I can think of is Jack Nicholson.
What happened to
so crazy someplace else, we're awful up here. I'm a bit fearful what's going to happen in Tassie.
When did Jack say that?
As good as it gets. North Melbourne and Essendon on Friday nights.
I'm back!
The Maroons and the Bombers live on Fox Footy.
As good as...
Who would you rather be?
Who would you rather be?
Jared Waitley or
Mark Robinson. I would rather be Robbo, because he gets to write and watch football all week and drink and eat as much as he likes.
Put some sauce on me, snag.
I'm probably a bit more nerdy like Jared, so I'd probably have to go down his pathway.
But if you're all ginned up...
It's like Jennifer Hawkins or me and Gal. I'm not sure there's an answer.
Jared or Robbo, that's a really good one.
Ooh. Jared Waitley every day of the week.
Probably Robbo. Drinks and watches footy, that's all he does.
You put the key in the bottom of the can and do that.
Yeah. Jared and I have got similar
oversized noses, so I'll go with Jared.
Nothing to see here.
Probably Robbo because he seems like he drinks more.
Can't make me answer this, surely.
Jared Waitley looks to be one of the real rebels in commentary and doesn't take himself too seriously.
You have a streak? What? I don't know. I like Robbo. He's a good bloke.
I'd have to say Robbo because he might punch me or something.
Come here, you.
Jared Waitley, better figure and a Geelong supporter.
I'll be Mark Waitley.
I think that's becoming the butt of your own joke.
Dangerfield picked you.
No, he wouldn't choose.
Who? Someone picked
Nat Fyfe picked me. Definitively.
Nat Fyfe? I was disappointed when
I'm happy with
I've
that.
liked Matt Fyfe since game 2.
All right.
I don't take it personally.
No, clearly we're not going to hold that against anyone.
Fyfe chose you.
Who would you rather be, Robbo, to finish up here? Guy McKenna or Leon Cameron? You can take this over any time frame you like.
Jeez. I'd like to be Leon Cameron because I've got a couple of superstar key forwards in the making. And I like Callum Ward.
And Gary Ablett.
Oh, I've seen enough of Gaz.
Okay.
I want to see the kids now.
What do you got?
Who would you rather be? Mick Malthouse or Nathan Buckley?
I think I'd be Buckley at the moment.
Don't like Mick?
I'm not despairing of either of these two quite, but Carlton are ordinary.
Mick?
And I think Collingwood's a little bit better than ordinary.
You have dinner with
so
Mick?
I'd be Buckley in this
What about
scenario.
Mick?
Enjoy your
You're
weekend of
friends
footy.
with
See you next week.
Fight.
This has been a Fox Footy production for Fox Sports.